All right. We are here on the Joy Hour podcast today, and I have a guest I'm very excited to introduce, Molly Smith. So excited to have you on today.
Thank you.
A little bit about Molly that I know. She is a mindset and health coach. She's got quite the story that I'm excited to hear today. She's an unwavering optimist. And I'm going to go ahead and start out by saying, how did you get the hashtag and the name Molly Positive Pants?
That came about. Well, thank you so much for having me, Tom. I'm so excited to be here and share a little bit about my story. Hopefully, it'll encourage somebody. I actually, hashtag Molly Positive Pants came about a couple of years ago. I had just had a day, one of those days where like things just kind of kept going wrong. And then it just got comical. It just got comical at and it's just like, okay, one more thing. And I realized in that moment, as I was kind of reflecting on my day and I posted on Facebook, I was like, you know what? All these things went wrong and I have a choice. I can roll with it, put on my positive pants and just keep moving forward, or I can complain and get in a victim mentality. And so it was kind of my humorous attempt to say, okay, I'm just going to roll with it. I'm going to put on my positive pants, and I hashtag Molly Positive Pants. And it kind of took off. So I'm going with it. I'm going with it.
I absolutely love it, and whether it's pants, whether it's a wristband or a
Yeah.
shirt, we
Yeah.
need those things
Yes.
in our life. The world comes in and life comes in and attacks our positivity.
Yeah.
So easy to,
Yes.
be labored and overwhelmed by things, but
Yeah.
that's great. I'm gonna get a pair of positive pants. I
Positive
don't
pants.
think I've
Come
ever heard
on.
that or seen that, but let's go. Let's put them
Let's
on.
do
Here
it.
we go. That's awesome, and I do know, back in 2019, some major you can start wherever you want, of course. This is about Molly Smith today.
Yeah.
Um, so I'll shut up and, let you get going here, but just tell the audience and, let me know more about Molly.
Yeah. So I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I have worked in technology companies for 27 years. I started health coaching 4.5 years ago after my own huge health transformation. That started right around this time 5 years ago in
I
2019.
lost her.
I was very unhealthy. I was in the mindset I was climbing the corporate ladder. I'd had some wonderful mentors in business really believe in me and say, hey, you could really do amazing things. And they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And so as I started to slowly believe in that, I was just pursuing that corporate ladder because quite honestly, I thought that that's what was going to give me my esteem and my confidence and my self-worth and all of those things. And while I was pursuing that, I was letting go of everything else, right? I was pursuing that at the expense of spending time with my family. I've got two boys and my husband, friends, the whole nine yards. I was working 70, 80 hours a week for this software company to which I had like zero equity. I was putting my heart and soul into it. And my health was just deteriorating. And I'd gotten to the point, like a lot of women, who are in that kind of midlife phase are, especially ambitious women who are working, that I had gotten sick and tired of feeling sick and tired. I had no energy. My health was in the tank. I had developed high blood pressure, acid reflux. I've got an autoimmune condition that was, flaring up, all of the things. And I said, I'm done. Right. And so I turned to a friend who had a lot of success. For me, at the beginning, it was about getting to a healthy weight. At 5'5", I was almost 200 pounds, very unhealthy. My energy was bad. I couldn't sleep, all the things. And a friend of mine introduced me to a program that, quite frankly, changed the trajectory of my life. And I, over the course of the next 10 months, lost 50 pounds. Went from almost a size 18 to a size 6, or a size 4, 6. I got off my blood pressure medication. I started believing in myself, and I was around a community of people who were believing bigger for themselves, who were dedicated to personal development, the pursuit of optimal health, which that was a foreign concept for me, but I knew like these people were living differently. And I was like, I want to hitch my wagon to that. And so that's actually how I ended up health coaching. Plus, people were saying, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Right. And so I was like a walking billboard for the program that I was following. And so, through the course of my own transformation and really digging into my mindsets and, realizing that I was made for more, I decided to dial back on the hours in the office, put some healthy boundaries in place, and that freed me up to be more available for my friends, my family. My boys were much younger back then, and it just changed my life. I started doing things that I never thought that I would do. I signed up for a half marathon in late October of 2019. I'd never run a mile without stopping, never. But I'm like, you know what? I never thought at that point I had lost 43 pounds, was feeling really good. And I was like, I never thought I could do that. So why not? Why not me? Right. So I signed up to do a half marathon. I signed up and then I downloaded a training app and then I trained for the next 14 weeks to run a half marathon. And that was just the beginning of things that I did as a result of building that belief in me, in myself, and what I could actually do if I put my mind to it. So,
I love it, I love it. On the early, steps there, the early part of that,
yeah,
any top books that you would recommend on just somebody getting started? I don't wanna get into my story as far as,
yeah,
health or weight loss. I've had some similar situations of up to 280 and down to 220. I'm
yeah.
about 250 right now, but, health is so important, and our mindset is so important. Just do you have, 1 or 2 books that would come to mind you'd recommend?
So books. So if you're really wanting to dial into your health, I recommend finding a coach, partnering with somebody that has tools
Mhm.
and resources. I've got the founder of the program that I follow wrote a book called The Habits of Health, and he was the 10th board certified critical care physician in the United States, the most passionate guy I've ever met about health. That is a phenomenal book because the reality is that if we're going to do anything to improve our health, we have to improve our habits, right? It is all about the habits. And so we can drop weight quickly, right? But undoing the habits that we have, like disrupting those and then installing new habits, that's a process, right? And we'll get to talking about sobriety and drinking here in a minute because that's a little bit longer story. But the ability to shift your habits, if anything, particularly in your health, resources on that. So I highly recommend The Habits of Health for sure.
I love it. I've not read that one.
Yeah.
One that helped me is Atomic Habits.
Oh,
Another
Atomic Habits is amazing. Great
amazing.
book.
I gotta read it again. It's been a little while, but it's
Yeah.
been so helpful.
Yeah.
Soundtracks is another one, but I like what you said about coach.
Yeah.
Being in the gym a good part of my life on and off. I finally got back in again a year ago,
Yeah.
and, I signed up in a different gym, and they said, "Hey, you should get a trainer." I'm like, "Bro, I know how to work out." And this guy challenged me,
Yeah.
and, once he challenged me, I'm like, "Alright." So I signed up. I do see my coach there at
Yeah.
the gym, but in a lot of different ways, having a coach, and you could talk more on this because you are a coach, it's when somebody else believes in you and somebody else speaks into you, not just to see that they've also done something that you admire and you want to achieve, but they
Yeah.
give you the push, they give you the confidence, they speak into you on days where you don't feel the best,
Thank you.
they you hold them account a partner, right? So a coach is also an accountability partner, but since you are in that capacity, and if someone, is listening to this, like, why if I said to you, "Why do I need a coach? I know how to diet, or I know how to work out." What are the things you'd say?
Here's the one reason. I'll give you one reason. And there are lots, but here's the one reason is because we will always, we tend to, I think, as humans, not keep the promises we make to ourselves, right? Like having integrity with ourselves, committing to and saying, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week, or I'm going to follow this nutrition plan, or what have you. When life happens, we will 100% revert back to what we know, what's comfortable, even if it doesn't serve us. right? And I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many people that I partner with and with my health coaching hat. It's like I've tried every diet, I've tried everything, and it just got too hard, or I plateaued, or what have you. And it's like that's because the mentality, right, around that, having that additional accountability in somebody who is invested in what it is you're trying to create in your life, right? You're
Mm.
trying to create health, you're trying to get to a healthy BMI, you're trying to, decrease your body fat, increase your muscle mass. You want to hitch your wagon to somebody who knows what they're talking about. Can I get an amen? Right?
Mm.
Yeah.
Lifestyle
Yeah.
change and somebody
Yeah.
that's going to be with you on that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I'll tell you what, I don't know if you've ever heard of Coach Michael Burt. He is absolutely amazing. You and your listeners, if you don't know him, follow Coach Michael Burt. He has a great saying. He says, everybody needs a coach in life. And I'll tell you, not only do I have a health coach, I also have a personal trainer because I value and I'm working on body composition, right? I also have a mindfulness coach, right?
Mhm.
Especially because I'm trying to figure out, I'm working on building that mindfulness muscle. And quite frankly, I'm not good at it. I'm really good at escaping the feels and all the things. And when I stopped drinking, I had to actually feel the feelings and deal with the crap that I was avoiding by drinking. Right. So developing that. So I have somebody who's helping me build that mindfulness skill. So I've had I've had public speaking coaches. I've had executive coaches, and it's not a long. It doesn't have to be a long term thing, but partnering with somebody who has been where you are, who can understand where you're trying to go, and to help you along the way is absolutely invaluable.
It really is. I have a few, people in my life, and something that came to mind there is when it costs you something. You know, a lot
Oh
of
yeah, that
times
too.
and I can speak, for men, because I am one. For me to go to a person and say, "I'd like to hire you to be my coach," it hits me in my pocketbook, and it hits me with my pride, you know, to say that I am in need of it. But once you do it, it really is what gives incredible results,
Yeah,
to say that I've humbled myself enough to go to another person and say, "I want to hire you because I feel that it can change and add something to my life." And it's a humility thing, but then also when it costs something, and
yeah,
regardless what that number is, when I checked into rehab, I didn't have health insurance. It cost me $10,000. I had to write a
yeah,
check for
yeah,
10K to say, I need help, and I'm gonna come 3 days a week for 3 hours a day for 3 months, and you're gonna tell me how to get my life back together.
right.
And that's
It's
why it's
humbling.
stuck, a lot of times when something comes free or easy,
Yeah,
it's kind of a ho-hum, but I did sit there on the edge of my seat and took notes saying, "I paid for this, and
yeah,
I'm never coming back here." And so since then, I do pay for, coaching, I pay for training,
yeah,
I buy a lot of books, I spend thousands of dollars, and
yeah,
I think that's really what's given me the incredible, um, fast results and consistent. It's one thing to lose 50 pounds, but if 6 months later you're up 50 pounds and it's a roller coaster all along, all
right.
but when you wanna have a lifestyle change and
Yeah,
say, "No, I'm gonna get to this benchmark with your help, and I want to hire you to do that," and a lot of people don't get that. A lot of people that I have talked to, and I feel I was like this at times, we're cheap when it comes to investing in ourselves to better ourselves, but when it's, "Hey, I just want another coffee, another ice cream, another go to the mall and buy some more clothes," we'll spend all
right,
kinds of money on something to make us feel good for a second,
right,
but to invest in ourselves and say, "I'm gonna pay $85 an hour for a coach," um, there's a lot of hesitancy with people to do it. I'm like, "You will get a breakthrough. Just try it. Just step into
yes,
this area where you pay a counselor $100 an hour or a coach." And so,
yeah,
put your money in and you will see the results. At least that's what I've experienced in my life, and,
yeah,
I'm not gonna stop. I still buy books every week. I got stacks of them. I got coaches. I got trainers, and,
yep,
just signed up for another thing last week that's, $1,000 for the year, and I'm like, "That's the best $1,000 I'm gonna spend this year."
that's right. It's yeah. The personal development stuff, once you get into it, I mean, it's just a journey and I, you know, through my journey have just taken, just have kept progressing and getting in rooms with people who are making the kind of impact that I want to make in the world. Right. So,
I hesitated to even say the names of some of them. I don't know if I'm supposed to or not,
Oh,
but,
yeah. We've got some really cool friends in common. Yeah.
CLS, right?
CLS, Harder Than Life, our friend Kelly, you know,
Amen. Yeah,
they're
good
just yeah, what great
good
communities to be a
people
part
that
of.
are I feel like it's almost like a hike too. We're on this long trail. We're out in the
Yes.
woods. It's a
Yes.
beautiful day.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people on this trail
Yeah.
going both directions. Keep in mind when you're hiking up a mountain, usually you got people going both directions.
Yeah.
But, let's just say we're going up the mountain together, and there's certain people, regardless of age or, demographic, nationality, anything like that, we need to look at each other and say, even if that person's younger than me, even if they live in a different state than me,
Yep.
they can teach me something. They're a little faster on this trail. They're a little more they've
That's
been
right.
exercising their calf muscles a little more, and I can
That's
see
right.
how they navigated through that part of the trail, and so a lot like going through a hard, mountain climb, we point people in our lives by saying, I look to you for direction, and we become an assignment to them, but if we look behind us, there's also people that are an assignment to us,
That's right.
and so I'm excited. I'm 46 years old, I'm very humble finally, and saying, "Hey, I'll follow a lot of people that, can teach me a lot, and I'll pay for it too." So,
That's right.
and I like what you said there about you have a coach, you have, people in your life. My pastor, I love what he says once in a while when he's preaching is he's very clear. He says, "I have a pastor." And I actually
Yeah.
happen to know that man as well, and he's, probably 25 years older than my pastor, but I
Yeah.
highly respect that in that he always lets us reminds us that he's not just a pastor.
That's right.
He has a pastor.
That's
And so
right.
that's so important in life.
Yeah.
Um, no, we're gonna jump into it here, and we might as well jump into it now on the,
Let's do it.
topic of sobriety.
Yeah. Let's
A
do
little
it.
bit about myself and everything, but tell us about Molly
Yeah.
and where you're at on that journey.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I chatted Kelly Siegel, our mutual friend. He said something to me last week. He said, there are 15% of Americans out there or of people who will never have a drink in their life. And there are 15% of people who are truly addicted. And then there's this middle 70% that, have some type of relationship with alcohol. I put myself in that middle 70%. I was a social drinker for a long time,
Mm,
and I began to accelerate to the daily 1 to 3 glasses of wine. And I say the daily glass of wine, but it really was never just one, ever.
mm, yeah,
And what I found is by drinking, I can look back now and see this. When I was in it, could not see this, but looking back, I could see that the reason my drinking escalated, quite frankly, is because I was misaligned in some of the work that I was doing in my corporate world. I was misaligned. So what I was being asked to do was like not aligned to my core skill set. But I work for a phenomenal mission based startup. And so my personality, roll up my sleeves and just figure it out. But as this, I was getting into and really stepping into the role that I held, I realized like I am trying to put a square peg in a round hole. And because of that, there was so much mental and emotional weight, so much imposter syndrome, much anxiety that the way that I coped was drinking. Like I could not wait for the end of my day so I could go pour myself a glass of wine and start drinking to escape how I was feeling, to escape and numb the fact that I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I was enough, that I wasn't going to be successful, and that if oh my gosh they figured out that I don't know what I don't know, then I'm gonna lose this amazing job, right? And so there's so much mental and emotional weight there. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know how to cope with it, so I drank. And that continually just got worse. And so, I mean, I'm sure you remember you drink like that, you sleep horribly, you wake up foggy and in a bad mood, and your day starts off. And so you're just showing up as just a really crummy version of you every day, right? And so I was in this cycle and it was last January 2023, and I just done. I was not done with drinking. I was done with feeling misaligned. I was done trying to cope. The coping mechanism wasn't working. And I saw a friend of mine on Facebook. So she did a Facebook Live in Texas, end of January last year. We had like a polar freeze. There was snow and ice, and the whole place shuts down when that happens here because Texans don't know how to deal with inclement weather at all. And
Right.
so the whole place shut down. And she was doing this Facebook Live, and she is in an electric blue bikini in front of her pool, and she's about to do a polar plunge to celebrate 100 days of sobriety. And I
Mm.
thought, what is she doing? Because it was odd. She was in a bathing suit. It's like 27 degrees and, snowing. And I unmuted the live and I listened to it. And she talked about all this amazing things that have come in the last 100 days of being alcohol free and how aligned she feels and all this. And I was so moved by it and I hadn't talked to her in like 2 years. I messaged her and I said, I saw your Facebook Live. I'm so curious to understand why you decided to stop drinking, how hard it was, and what happened as a result. And decided we were going to get together the following week. 2 hours later, I got on a call with my mentor in my health coaching business. So you got to remember, I'm a health coach. I'm helping people get alignment in their health, and I am not in alignment with my health. So I'm not living congruently to what I know and believe and what I value because I could not deal with all of the emotional turmoil that I was in. Right. And so got on a call with my mentor and she's like, how are you doing? And I said, I'm not great. Like my health is in the tank. I'm drinking. And I told her about this Facebook Live and she said, wow, that's interesting. Have you ever thought about maybe taking 100 days and going alcohol free? And I said, it crossed my mind, but in that moment, like that's my security blanket, right? Like
Mhm.
I have a love-hate relationship. It's like that is what I live for at the end of a day where I'm feeling like I'm not where I'm supposed to be, not doing what I'm supposed to do. It's my security blanket. But I know that it's not serving me too. And so she said, dial back into your nutrition, the habits that I know that I coach others on, and go alcohol free. So I decided, okay, I'm going to do it. So February 1st, 2023, I quietly said, okay, I'm going to try to do this. And I did it quietly because I don't think I believed that I could actually do it.
Right.
Right. And the month of February had a lot of events. My birthday's in that month. We had a gala, Valentine's Day, and there were like multiple events where a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to start this diet or I'm going to stop drinking or whatever. And then it's like, oh, except for on my birthday or, oh, except for that, big event or whatever. Right. And I was like, no, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so I had like immediately in the first 30 days, I probably had 4 or 5 events where I would have normally been drinking that I didn't. And it was super uncomfortable. But each day, I was like, okay, one more day. I did it, right? One more day. And so I just continued. And what I found, oh my gosh. So all of the misalignment in my work, actually, I was able to actually create major, amazing, beautiful alignment. I was able to shift my role to focus on what I am good at, what I add the most value in. And those were hard conversations to have as somebody who spent years climbing the corporate ladder, right? Hard
Mhm.
conversations to have. But what I came out on the other side of was so much fulfillment in my role and more bandwidth to do things like this, to share my story, to expand my coaching business. I'm writing my first book. I'm doing all kinds of things now that I now have capacity to do because I decided and pursued, number one, alignment to my purpose, alignment to my skill set. And the 100 days came and went. I decided to keep going. I realized with every day that alcohol was not serving me. It wasn't
Mm.
serving me. And I was feeling so good. I was sleeping better. I was waking up. My morning routine was solid. And I just was like, this is the way I need to be living. Right. This feels who I am and what I value. And so that's how I got started. And now I think I'm 410 days alcohol free. And I'm not stopping. Right. I'm not
Right.
stopping because this is too good. Life is too good on the other side of alcohol.
I love it. I love it, I love it, and, few thoughts go through my mind. The,
Sure.
uh, FaceTime Live of your friend that you saw
Yeah.
is who you are now to others, and continue to do that. I want to encourage you. I'm not much further ahead on the trail than you.
Yeah.
but we're all on the trail. We're all on a journey of life, and we're all supposed to be here for each other,
Yeah.
and love each other as
Exactly.
ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, a key thing that I've realized is I finally, at 46 years old, I love myself, and I'm good with Tom. In all of my ups and downs and flaws, I'm good with who I am. But
Yeah.
for years, I was insecure and tried to, I think, people please, tried to match the identity of what I thought people thought I was supposed to be, just a lot of peer
Yeah.
pressure. We talk about kids
Yeah.
having peer pressure. You know what? I think that adults have almost more peer pressure if we're not
Yeah.
careful, and
Yeah.
really a lot of it's internal. I put a lot of that on myself. My security blanket was, "I'm Tom the builder. I can build you anything. I'm a contractor."
Yeah.
But I was not aligned for years. We were building these massive projects. I was not having fun, but I'm supposed to what I do. What's wrong? But now I do home remodels, a lot smaller scale. It's still construction. It's a different type of construction,
Yeah.
but to be aligned is so important with, our temperament. We're all made different, and you put me, in an office, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm not an office guy. You put me outside meeting people in an environment and doing some construction out there, hey, I thrive, and so being in that corporate world like you were and
Yeah.
then changing, the career path either drastically for some people or slightly for some of us,
Yeah.
is very important too. If you feel misaligned out there
Yeah.
and you can't wait to get off work to escape, like the word you used there,
Yes.
escape the way
Self-indulgence.
we feel.
Yeah.
We do that as adults. We want to escape the way we feel. Teenagers, a lot of times, that's a similar situation. They try drugs and alcohol because they
Yeah.
want to escape the way they feel. And for so many years, we were taught to bottle up our feelings. Nobody cares. Get to work. Suck it up. And I think that's men and women in a lot of environments we're taught to do that or told to do that, pressured to do that. But I
Yeah.
think when you can find a safe environment, a circle of people where you can say, "This is how I'm feeling,"
Yeah.
and, I know at 27 months, I felt like first year was a lot of, pink cloud, like, "I'm gonna conquer the world. I'm sober now. I can start 10 businesses all at once. I'm invincible." It just felt really good for the first year. People in my office were like, "Oh, what are we starting now? Another company?" I was gonna be a plumbing company, electrical company. I mean, it was hilarious. But, the second year I've finally started to really stabilize and slow down my RPMs and say, "No, let's think, let's pray, let's meditate, let's seek counsel from others, and let's really find this niche for the final part of my journey." I'm 46, as I mentioned. I hope
Yeah.
I have another 50, 60 years, but we're not promised tomorrow. I want to, be very aware of that in my journey is what am I doing today? Yes, but who am I supposed to be? What career path? What am I supposed to do with my time during the day? But there's a lot that happens in sobriety that's wonderful and beautiful. The hard part lately has been realizing that whenever I do feel depressed or insecure
Mhm.
or anxiety or overwhelmed, which oddly enough for me is Saturdays. All week long, I'm fine. I'm fine. And come in
Okay.
sometimes, just boom.
Yeah.
And, the old Tom, I'd run and grab a couple shots of whiskey and I'd be fine. I'd
Yeah.
do some other substance abuse situations for years there, and I could change the way I felt with
Yeah.
different things put in my body, and now it's like,
Right.
I don't put anything in my body, so I'm gonna have to deal with this. How do I deal with this?
Yes.
And so coping skills, and I wanna hear a few of your
Yes.
recommendations. There's everything I've learned from rehab and different settings, different circles I'm in, but
Mhm.
puzzles, coloring, arts and crafts, reading, sleep, resting, crying, talking. But what are a few of your more recent coping skills that you might
Yeah.
go to in cases where you used to grab that drink?
Yeah.
What comes to your mind on coping?
Yeah. So, what a great question. So, I think those of us with addictive personalities, you take out the alcohol and the drugs, you're going to replace it with something else. And it might be something else that's socially acceptable, right? And so, for me, that has been a journey, finding those coping mechanisms. That piece has been a journey. Initially, instead of drinking, I would binge watch some show I've seen a gazillion times, right? Again, just a means of escape. And so when I realized it's like, oh, I've just replaced alcohol with binge watching Netflix, right? So I
Yes.
took Netflix off of my phone, I took all the streaming apps off my phone, right? Because I was like, I've
Right.
got to systematically remove these things so that I need to deal with the emotion and the feeling. And I'm 48 years old. I'm still trying to figure out how to label my feelings. I got one of those big feelings wheels on my refrigerator. I'm like, the whole family's going to be naming their feelings, right? Because
Yep.
growing up, we weren't taught to say, tell me how you're feeling and being validated for your feeling, right? It was like, suck it up, rub some dirt on it, and get down the road, right? And so I have had to figure out what are those coping mechanisms. I've also removed all the games off my phone because that was something I could just zone out. I could zone out on social media as well, but social media is the primary mechanism by which I connect with people. So I can't cut that out, but I do need
Right.
to keep that in check. So the things, again, I'm working on the mindfulness. My witching hour is at the end of the workday. Now, I truly love what I do and how I've gotten alignment in my work, but I still struggle with that transition period at the end of the workday going into whatever it else is going on, either kids or family or, coaching or whatever. And so the mindfulness coach that I'm working with, she has curated a meditation playlist for me based on what I need. And it lives in Insight Timer. So we're like, friends on Insight Timer. She's curated a list, and there are several meditations in there that are designed to transition from your workday into your evening. And so that has been the most effective and probably healthiest way, quite honestly, to really decompress and transition. And so they don't go to something else. Obviously, I'm not going to alcohol, but going to something else where it's not healthy. It's not a coping mechanism, right? So I also exercise a lot. If I'm not
Mhm.
active, like there are a couple of things I know. If I'm in a funk, if I'm feeling out of sorts, when was the last time I exercised? What am I
Mm.
scrolling, watching, reading, listening to? Right. And I do have a little checklist in my head, and I can figure out what I need to tweak to get back to better version of me. Yeah.
If you could send me that, some insight on the meditation part, I could see
Yes.
benefit in me
Yeah.
trying that when I pull in the driveway. I've got 3 precious kids, wonderful wife, and when I walk in, I've done better, but
Yeah.
I think, and I'm thinking some of those are hopefully like 5 or 10 minutes, where I could just
Oh
either at
yeah.
my office before I
Yeah.
leave or in my
Oh yeah.
car when I get home, sit there.
Yeah.
I haven't done that in a long time, but when you said that, I'm like, "Please send me some information on how to do that and just transfer." It's like my dad, used to say is, "What hat do you have on?" And he was
Yes.
really good. He's passed away now, 6 years
Mhm.
ago, wonderful man. He got colon cancer, but love and miss him, but he taught me so much, but one of them that I've, always remembered is, "What hat do you have on?" If you're at the dinner table, have the family hat on. If you're at church, have the church hat on. If you're at work, have the work hat. And I think it's become so hard to do that in the last 10 years, especially with, multitasking and be the hustler mentality and our phone, and I'm ADHD, and this is what I do, and I'm doing 13th at once, and that's who I am, and but are you
Yeah.
doing any of those 13 things good?
Right.
But if you just have that focus, and I wanna be more intentional, as a father and as a husband, so I'm learning,
Yeah.
and I'll take that
Yeah.
meditation, and try that. That's
Yeah.
great.
It's a muscle, just like building your confidence. Confidence is a muscle. Building that mindfulness thing, that's a muscle, right? So you gotta keep doing it.
Mhm.
It's really effective.
I heard you say something there, "What the funk?" Tell me about
Yeah,
what the
that's the name
funk.
of my book. So, yeah,
You
so
you use that
I
word.
I do, and quite honestly, it's because it's funny that how that book title came to me, but I will say, like, I'll just share one of the things that has come out of my sobriety as a result of my sobriety is that I'm open and available
Mm,
for whatever the Lord is bringing in my life, right? Whatever opportunities are coming in, the people that I'm meeting, and the people introduced to the rooms that I'm in. And I'll tell you, last year I probably had 4 or 5 people ask me, "Hey, have you ever thought about writing a book?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's kind of one of those bucket list things, but like it's not top of well." A good friend of mine who is also in corporate America, she's also an entrepreneur, and she said, "Have you ever thought?" This is the last time somebody said it. Have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, "You're like the fourth person to say that." And she's like, "Let me get you connected to this publisher. They publish women authors. They're amazing." And so I looked into it and I'm like, yeah, this is it. I'm going to do this. So signed my agreement, my publishing agreement the week of Thanksgiving, and I had no idea what I was going to write about. I had an idea of what I wanted to. I wanted to tell my journey, my health journey, my sobriety
Mhm.
journey, and the journey get alignment in your purpose and what I had done through my with my career in 2023, and I was had a it was time, and the Lord just brought it to me. What the funk, right? What the funk? And so the subtitle is How to Get Out of the Funk You're In by Creating Alignment in Your Life.
Mhm.
And I'm writing about how to get alignment in mind, body, and purpose. Because quite frankly, that's where I have been in the pursuit of living a congruent life. What does it mean to live a congruent life, right? What does that look like? How do you know you're in a funk? And then what can you do to get us to step out of that? And so I'm writing right now. It comes out in January 2025, and
Well,
I'm so excited for it.
you let me know that date it comes out. I'll definitely add that to, my book stack of
Awesome.
books. I'm excited, and, that's something on my
Thank
to-do
you.
list, bucket list is how to be an author, to write a book. The, a couple things come to mind there on, alignment.
Yeah.
What I've realized, and I use the word a lot, is connection versus isolation. And
Yes.
when I'm connected and aligned with my God, my creator,
Yeah.
my higher
Yeah.
power, horizontal relationships with my family and friends, they go pretty well. And I think that's such an important part of life is balance. To stay balanced, like you touched on there, I can sense when I'm out and I'm off, and
Yeah.
a lot of times that can be, my screen time went up, and this week I've
Yes.
just got out of balance by too much screen time. I use it as a tool as well to reach people. I could justify it all day long. I'm a business owner, all those things, but if I look, I'm like, yeah, not all of that was necessary. And I
That's
haven't
right.
read my Bible in a week. Okay, no wonder I'm angry and short fused and everything else. And I love that you brought that up and touched on it. In the last couple of years, I've gotten closer and uh, to God through holding the Bible. A lot of times I'll hold it and I'll cry, and I'll touch the leather pages, and I feel peace when I do that. And I actually have done some testing on myself on Saturdays mostly, where I'll have my Bible, I'll sit there and read, and I'll have my phone, and I'll go back and forth. And it's just like a gas gauge on a car, it'll move,
Yeah.
thermometer, any sort of gauge. Uh, I've done testing on myself, and when I spend 5, 10 minutes, I start to feel some peace when I read the Bible or a good
Mhm.
book. Many good books out there, but that
Yeah.
that one I really go to, and then when I start looking and doom scrolling, on things that aren't necessary, I feel my anxiety, depression go up.
Yeah.
I don't know how to write about all that, but that'll probably be in a piece in my book somewhere, but it's interesting the, um, emotional impact of the phone compared to the Bible, good
Right.
books, meditation, outdoors, nature.
Love that.
I think each person needs to kind of find their own opportunity to slow down. Usually a weekend is when we all slow down a little bit and do some testing on ourselves. What brings us anxiety, but what
Yes.
brings us peace? What
That's
brings
right.
us calm? Knowing we live in a crazy world, knowing that there's all kinds of negativity going on, absolutely. But put on those positive pants, and how
Yes.
do you do that, right? With different tools. But I can't wait to read your book. You're doing a lot of things, and I'm excited to be a part of the journey. I'm over
Thank
here
you.
taking notes like meditation, okay, and these
Yeah.
different tools. If I wanted to, I didn't know you at all or just heard your name, a little bit about you, tell me some ways that I would find you in regards to, things that you offer to help other people and just to
Yeah.
how to look you up.
Yeah. So the best place right now to find me is on social media. So for sure, I'm working on getting my website up. It is mollypositivepants.com. There you go. Just going with it. It's not quite up yet, but the best way to get connected to
Yeah.
me is on social. So Facebook, my handle is Molly Moore Smith. And then on Instagram, it's molly.positivepants. And same on TikTok. So also YouTube as well. So that's the best place to connect with me. And I've got a couple of links there if anybody's interested in, improving their health and working on their building their confidence muscle, reducing self doubt. I'm so passionate about helping people do that because there are just some really easy ways to build those skills and so they're all tools that I've used in my life. So that's the best way. Or you can reach out to me at molly@mollypositivepants.com.
Well, I love it. I know we got a little longer here. Just wanted to make
You're
sure
good.
not forget those
Yeah.
things for the
Thank you.
audience. I usually start with this, and I kinda skipped it. Your boys, you have 2 sons? What ages?
I do. I do. I have a son who's 20, and then I have one that is 17. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
You started early.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I started late, but my oldest is about to be 16,
Okay.
and then 13-year-old girl, and then a 9-year-old boy.
Yes. Those are yeah. It goes by, so it goes by so fast. But I'll tell you, it's a very interesting stage to have. I call it adult-ish
Mhm.
children, where you are trying to help them kind of launch without doing it for them, right? So, love my 2 boys, they're amazing, and I have a very supportive husband. We'll be married 25 years this year. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, thank you.
I'm behind you on that trail a little bit. We just hit 21. And,
Nice.
life is a journey, and I think
It
that
is.
anybody that gets in their 40s should write a book because our stories are, um, they're real. They really happened, and as long as there's breath, there's hope. We're all
Yes.
striving to improve in different areas, that mind, body, spirit. Oops, I'm out of balance, and I think
Yeah.
it's beautiful when we can find a community. Usually it's 4 or 5, maybe key close people in our community that talk like this, but we're
Yeah.
there for each other. I
That's
think
right.
a perfect number is 7. So if it's 7 people that are tight and talk about real things on a frequent basis, then if Tom's down on a Saturday, Molly's got me. If she's
That's right.
down on a Sunday, I got her and vice versa. So, build that group. You could build it online and do Zoom calls. You can join a group. In person is always best, but I've got some brothers, some people in my life that truly know how to reach out if they're going through a moment, and I do
Yeah.
too, and I've done so, more and more, being vulnerable, being transparent. It's easy for people to think, "Oh, Tom's got a nice truck and a construction company. He's fine. Everything's just peaches and roses, and look at his
Yeah.
Facebook. Everything's great." But, behind closed doors, I think a lot of us suffer alone, and
Yeah.
that's the dangerous area when addictions or mental health struggles can be
Yes.
life-threatening,
Yes.
and, at another time, I could always talk on that topic for quite a while, but our pursuit over here, through the Joy Hour movement and the Considerate group is literally to talk openly about any and everything to normalize conversations about mental health struggles, about addiction. My addiction ended up being daily, every day. I was a functional addict, went to work high, went to work drunk, got away with it for many years. Most people didn't know I could manipulate and cover it up pretty good, but I was kind of a microdoser during the day. So wake up,
Yep.
do a bump of cocaine, a shot of whiskey, and let's go. And every hour, all day long, that's what I did. And people were like, "Man, he's had a lot of Red Bull," and I'm like, "Yeah, and a little more." And so that was my story. Went to work high, went to church high, business meetings, all kinds of stuff, and looking back on it, I could sit here and feel, just ashamed of that, but I choose not to. It's a
Yeah.
reality. Um, the whole reason God died on the cross was to help guys like me, and so I try and verbalize and vocalize things like that to reach for somebody that might feel so much guilt and shame that they're never gonna talk about it,
Yeah.
and one night, it might be too late, and it might be, um, accidental. There's a lot of, fentanyl out there these days, and, you know,
Oh,
I'm lucky to be alive, and, even just drinking and driving, I'm lucky to be alive.
yeah,
Everything we do, you know, the health is such a big part of it too. I did one of these podcasts with a man that owns multiple gyms, and he said, "The biggest drug out there is food. The food's killing us, and, you know, sugar's killing
yeah,
us." So I will sum it up by saying, sugar will kill us, just not as fast as fentanyl, and
yeah,
they're both
true,
addiction,
true.
right?
Yeah,
And so it's that balance. I mean, social media, phones, video games, Netflix, I mean, these things used improperly, they're part of what can kill us as well.
absolutely.
Oh, it's a journey. I think
Yeah,
interesting when I say something about addiction and a person will say, "Yeah, I don't struggle with any addiction issues." Like, well, hats off to you. That's great.
lucky
You know, I
you.
don't yeah, I don't say I'm Tom, I'm an addict because I say it, I'm Tom, I'm in recovery from a lot of addictions, and
Yeah,
every day I have a choice.
it's
So
great.
different mindset there. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
It's great.
Done some,
Wonderful.
12-step programs have helped quite a bit, lots of different tools, but if anybody out there wants to know more, of course, Molly Smith, Tom Lyman, we're on that trail walking with you. We're in front of some people, we're behind some people, but it's a beautiful trail to walk on,
Yeah.
and, just yeah, I'll let you, share some other thoughts here as we, have a few more minutes, but I've enjoyed this.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is my sobriety journey, my journey towards creating an aligned life, aligned to what I believe, what I value. It's not an easy journey, but it is so worth it. It is so worth it.
Mhm.
But there's some hard work to do it. But there are so many people, Tom, out there like you, like me, who want to partner and link arms with people who are in pursuit of something better,
Yeah.
more in impact. So thank you again for having me today.
Absolutely, and what are the top 3 things, I think you might have touched on 'em earlier, but just rapid fire here, top 3
Yeah.
things about sobriety that you enjoy the most?
All right. Definitely waking up clear headed
Mhm.
by far. The next would be having the clarity of my purpose in the vision that I have. But when I close my eyes, close my eyes, the vision that I have for the impact that I can have, I didn't have that clarity when I was drinking. So I'm so grateful for that. And then honestly, just the knowing, the assurance that I am living a congruent life. Right now, I can't say I'm perfectly
Mhm.
congruent in everything, but I know that being alcohol free, living the sober lifestyle, is absolutely congruent to who I am becoming, and who God made me to be. So,
I love it, and, I echo those. I have a wristband here, it says "1 day at a time," and if you're on this journey,
yes,
remember that wonderful saying, and I actually am gonna get one made for myself that says, "1 minute at a time," and so
nice.
if I just make it another minute
That's right.
with making the right choices and say no to this and yes to this with any bad habit or good habit, then I end the day by saying, I'm I made that a good choice, and it's because it's easy to get overwhelmed, like, "Oh, I gotta be sober the rest of my life, how boring," and it's not boring, by the way, it's a lot of fun,
No,
but
it's
don't get overwhelmed if you're on this journey at all, in sobriety journey, your health, you know, it's so easy to say, "How in the world am I ever gonna lose 50 pounds? I hardly have the energy to step on the treadmill for 3 minutes, it's so overwhelming." Go and talk to Molly Smith about the coaching. We recommended a few books. It's that 1%. And if you just sign up and you go 5 minutes to the gym and you get in your car and leave, you watch as a week or two later, you're doing 7 minutes and
that's
10
right.
minutes. And that's how easy it is. Just those small disciplines.
That's
Don't
right.
get overwhelmed, be encouraged. I've
Yes.
dropped about 20 pounds and I'm at
Nice.
27 months clean and sober,
Nice.
getting stronger, but I'm still doing it one day or
One day at
sometimes
a time.
1 minute at a time.
That's great.
So I've
Love it.
enjoyed this, Molly Smith, and we will be talking again soon. God
Sounds
bless
good.
you and every endeavor that you're involved in, and
Thank you.
have a wonderful weekend with your family.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode on the Joy Hour podcast. Don't forget to check out some of our other episodes for more powerful discussions. Want to keep up with new episodes? Be sure to subscribe. And as always, we'd appreciate it if you like, share, and comment your favorite part of this episode right down below.